Welcome to the Heavy Spoilers Show. I'm your host Paul Lander, and this video we're breaking down The Boys. The Boys are back in town for the final season, and Kripke & Co have delivered possibly their best premiere yet. I was like sat in silence as the credits rolled, and yeah, that lack of music was just insane and a lot to take in. Episode 2 has also dropped as well, and we'll be breaking both down in this video. I've also reread the final omnibus for the comics as well, and there's lots of similarities, Easter eggs, and differences as well. So come with us as we go through the journey over the next 7 weeks, and make sure you subscribe so you don't miss a video. Our merch store below also has a ton of things inspired by the series, along with big discounts in there just in time for the summer. With that out of the way though, thank you for clicking this. Now let's get into The Boys. Now, in case you need a refresher, Season 4 ended with Homelander consolidating power and acting as a shadow president for President Calhoun. We then watched as the Sage Grove inmates, along with Gen V's Kate and Sam, arrested Huey, Frenchie, Mothers, Milk and Kimiko. However, who managed to get away was Starlight and Billy, and we learned that Annie was forming a resistance in Gen V Season 2. She recruited Marie Moreau and her friends, and we got the reveal that A-Train was working with her as well. The series tells a lot of this in the opening recap, which jumps back and forth between the fictional reality Vort's created and the actual truth of the situation. It's a great way to kick things off, and it plays into the AI and deepfake narrative that Vought run with for the episode. The season then opens with the Vought International Annual Meeting of Shareholders. It's clearly based on the CPAC, and we see a dude wearing a Keep America Safe hat. That's subtext that. This movement is clearly gaining a footing though, since we saw Rufus wearing a cap in Gen V. Conventions like this also happen in the comics as well, and Homelander gathered heroes together like this at Herogasm. There he was just about to announce his soup uprising, but Stan Edgar came in and he then decided against it. Homelander then descends from the ceiling, signaling that he truly thinks he's the Messiah. Everyone is clapping and cheering, and the theme of these 2 episodes for him is about love. Homelander is someone who wants to be adored, but all he sees are people that fear him. Homelander has shareholders, followers, and people he's tricked into liking him, but no one actually loves him. Even like his own son can't stand the sight of him. He doesn't understand because he views himself as a god, and on the flip side of this, he views Huey as pathetic and doesn't really understand why Starlight or Billy would lay their life on the line for him. As we zoom out, we can see that the stage is also a giant cross with the US flag on it. This shows how important faith is to Homelander's pure strategy, or at least the illusion of it. Church and state are supposed to be kept separate, but if you can convince your followers you're chosen by God, then they won't question or doubt you. So even when Homelander's exposed in just a bit, the people would rather believe the scam than believe they've been scammed. Homelander is weaponizing faith, and this is something the show doubles down on later when we meet Oh Father. Homelander, of course, is also, we've never seen the guy going to church, so I do think that his calls and claims of being a man of faith are a bit far-fetched. Backstage, we then see lots of firecracker backup dancers, which reminds me of the Iron Man dancers in Iron Man 2. Starlight has infiltrated the group, and this allows her to get the Flight 37 footage out there. We also see the poor stage manager, who Homelander later takes his anger out on. We then get a long shot take of her walking through a corridor, which felt like a reference to the one in Goodfellas. She walks past the Dawn of the Seven poster and links up with her fellow Starlighters. They're screwed though, as Black Noir is watching from the rafters. Now he may be Noir 2.0, but he's every bit as deadly as 1.0, and he may even be method acting. Cutting back to Homelander, he then praises the effort to defeat the Starlighters. Annie's on the back foot, and as we see, her resistance is going terribly. She had a whole school of rooms that are now empty, and if Homelander's theme is love, then hers is wrestling with staying true to her values. Over the course of the 2 episodes, she slowly realizes that Billy may have had a point, and though his methods, as cruel as they were, get the fucking job done. Her comrades then effortlessly killed, and the other one looks pretty scared. In the past, the old Annie would have just told him to run, but she just tells him to keep going while fighting against Noir. She's willing to lay down lives for the greater good, and is all about sacrifice. She can't really use her powers though, as the system will go haywire, and we see what I think is a beer advert with termite on it. Meanwhile, Homelander lists off his wins. The Starlighters have been designated a terrorist organization, and they've been rounded up and taken to internment camps. This was actually mentioned by Huey DeVick in Season 4, and it's clearly coming true.
When Homelander chucks all the Starlighters into internment camps, you're cool with that? You didn't know about the camps.
We also see that Supes have been put in charge across the board, with General Mayhem being chairman of the Joint Chiefs. This is just like how the Deep was made head of crime analytics at one point. Mayhem isn't in the comics, but it might be a reference to the G.I. Joe character of the same name. He then mentions G-Men Days Past from the Future, which grossed over $2 billion. Superhero fatigue definitely does not exist in the world of The Boys. But yeah, this is a clear parody to X-Men Days of Future Past, which gets a nod later in the episode. That film, of course, has a big speedster scene, which A-Train later sort of recreates. It also has a camp which mutants are kept in, and that too plays in the plot. But basically, the G-Men are The Boys' X-Men. They've sadly been missing from the show, and were led by John Godolkin, who somewhat got adapted into Gen V, even if he was completely different and also named Thomas. Now, a major criticism that I have towards the series in general is that the show kind of focused a bit too much on the Seven, I would say. In the comics, if you've read them, you'll know that Billy and Co went up against various lower tier soups and teams. I know the comic is a bit controversial in the cold light of 2026, but the show has missed a lot of potential great moments of satire. Especially poking fun at how many X teams there are as well. As like the G-Men had G-Style, G-Wiz, G-Coast, G-Brit and Pre-Wiz as well. I know we've got lots of spin-offs coming down the line though, so maybe they'll adapt them more into that. But Homelander says how America is becoming a safer, more God-fearing nation. This is something that gets shown as a lie when Annie's tech guy sends the Flight 37 footage to the screen. Vort's public face and what the heroes get up to behind the scenes has always been the height of hypocrisy, and finally the footage is seeing the light of day. In case you don't remember, Queen Maeve sent the Deep to get the footage and used it to bargain with Homelander to let Ryan and Billy leave. As well as basically to stop hunting Starlight. But in the comics, the flight was like a massive thing and was actually part of 9/11. In that universe, the Seven went to try and stop it, only to end up with the plane crashing into the Brooklyn Bridge instead. There it was used to give Vought further access to the military, which is also something they kind of do in the show. We see as the audience is shocked, and I do think the narrative is going to fall apart as things get exposed. Former God Udine, Indy Rashedi's family actually died on the plane, and this led to her creating the super virus. This is integral to the plan of taking out Homelander, so I do think that they might uncover more of this. Homelander's eyes then turn red, and we hear the same music from the end of Season 3. There Homelander killed a Starlighter, and the strings played when he realised that his fans would support him no matter what. The people on the flight, however, are just normal adults and kids. There's no political agenda behind them, and thus they have to basically run with a lie. Because yeah, like, he can't say that all Starlighters, so his anger starts to overwhelm him. It's a lot like the fantasy he had earlier in the season, where he imagined killing the crowd in Season 2. Wisely though, Sister Sage stops him and concocts an entire cover story for it. As we learned in Gen V Season 2, Sister Sage now has Ashley's job. She explains that this is just an AI generated video and the public will believe anything Vought tell them. I also think there's the fact that the people will accept the lie if it's a lie they want to believe. Or believe. The comments are full of supporters though, and there's even a QAnon inspired hashtag that references where we go one, we go all. This user thinks that the deep state framed Homie and that it's all to take down their Superman. At one point we then see Starlight even thought to be the one who killed Epstein. There's also a username that references Black Pill and Red Pill, which are terms used in the Manosphere. There's even one user called Gunpowder2A for Ev, who was a sup in Season 3. The user thinks that Starlight is a lizard person, and this refers to David Icke's theories. Icke is a big figure from the UK, and he stated that the royal family were reptiles that ruled over the world. Like the rest of the seasons, we go into the world building via social media. Reminds me a lot of the Dark Knight Returns comic, where they used lots of news reports to flesh out the exposition. Except it's the modern day version. The soups have all been given their PR lines by Vought though, and they're making light of the Flight 37 video. With like the dances. Here we meet She-Line, who might be a play on She-Cat, and we also have Jetstreak. Streak is a character from the comics, and he was a member of Teenage Kicks. They were an absolutely deranged group of degenerates that never hit the thumbs up, and the boys tried to blackmail them. Teenage Kicks is also A-Train's first team in the show, and in the comics it featured his ex Popclaw and friend Big Game. Popclaw appeared in Season 1, Big Game's been in the show before as well, and yeah, just nice tied it all in with that. Now it is possible that what they did with Dognot in the comics they might do with She-Line, but they do have Dognot in the show, so who knows, but yeah, worth discussing. Jetstreak also has like a stupid amount of adverts on his flight suit. The lad thinks he's Captain Amazing from Mystery Men. Now I'm sure you've all had those spam calls and emails, and with AI getting behind it now, you can just get bombarded day and night. Thousands of companies are collecting, aggregating and trading your personal data without you ever knowing anything about it. You have the right to request data brokers to delete what information they have about you and protect your privacy, but guess what? The bad news is you have to do it manually, and every time you take down one, there's probably at least one other company that's now got your data. It's never ending, but that's where our sponsors Incogni come in to save the day. Use the code HEAVYSpoilers at incogni.com/heavyspoilers to get an exclusive 60% off. Incogni can do the messy work for you automatically. Incogni helps protect your privacy and take your personal data off the market by reaching out to data brokers on your behalf, requesting your personal data removal, and dealing with their objections. Get an extra level of protection with Incogni's custom removal feature in the Unlimited plan and Family Unlimited plan, and you can point to any people, search any site or other website where your personal information is visible, and one of their privacy agents will take care of the rest for you. Incogni is extremely simple as well, and in just one click they can go and do the work. Now, it can be worrying as well when there's constant news reports about data breaches, and yeah, it is a bit scary knowing someone out there might have your credit card details. Criminals online can use your data for fraud, and it's better to just have that peace of mind. So use the code HEAVYSpoilers at incogni.com/heavyspoilers to get an exclusive 60% off. Go to incogni.com/heavyspoilers and use the code HEAVYSpoilers for 60% off. So click that link below, claim your 60% off, and get your personal data off the market. We see a user called Jack from Jupiter saying She-Line can laser him anytime, and this might be the real Jack from Jupiter who might finally appear in the show. In the comics, he was a Martian Manhunter parody, but he's only been seen in the animated series of Boys Diabolical. She's getting all positive comments though, while we have Mesmer's apprentice saying he can't dance. This is a reference to Haley Joel Osment's character, and we get a nod to him on the writer's t-shirt later. It's all done though to push Vought property and figures, and there's even Vought Viagra spam in the chat. We can also see they're in the Kicks house, which is a nod to content houses like Team 10, FaZe, Sway, and so on and so forth. We then learn that Ashley is now the VP. We last saw her take some compound V so she'd survive Homelander's purge of humans, and this seemed to mutate her. I didn't expect her to turn like the leader from Marvel, or even become like Medusa from the Inhumans due to her alopecia. Hell, in our trailer video, I even expected her to be locked up like Lamplighter was in the comics, but she can pass as normal. This must be a relatively recent change though, as Sage mentioned in Gen V how Ashley Barrett can't do her old job in her state. We will discuss the reveal with her later on, but she's basically Professor Quirling. Again though, she's now become the vice president, but really it's all a facade as Vought pulls the strings. Ashley says that the Flight 37 video was put out by Marxist starlighters, and we then get a glimpse of her powers. She reads the reporter's mind and says that despite being a super abled American, she's still loyal to the US. Made me laugh when she said that bigoted thinking like that kept her in the closet and told him to do better. I'm guessing that this entire time she's just been running with the story, she's been a soup all along, but we did see it was like a last-ditch attempt to not get murdered. Ashley is then asked about the quote-unquote freedom camps. These are the internment camps used by Vought and Homelander to imprison anyone suspected of being a Starlighter. They're for political prisoners and undesirables, and clearly the next step in Homelander's fascist regime. The freedom camps also clearly draw parallels with the Nazis' concentration camps, and there were internment camps also used to keep soldiers in World War II. She palms it off by saying, "Who doesn't like freedom?" As we see, in the end, the flight video did almost no damage to Vought, and the share price is only down half a point. Sister Sage has flooded everything with misinformation, and it's a scattergun approach that the other side just can't keep up with and debunk. Goebbels could have only dreamed of having AI. Homelander can barely hide his contempt for Sister Sage though, as she seems to be popular. She's got a Gutenberg Bible that she bought from Marty Schreil, who's the farmer bro himself, and I've definitely fucked up his name, but I'm sorry. But yeah, fuck the lad anyway. She's also liked by Peter Thiel, who's said to be the man behind JD Vance's rise, and Sage is said to be loved by the Obamas. Homelander is just jealous that everyone wants her advice and wants to be friends with her, while everyone's deathly afraid of him. It's only the right that adore him, as the in-universe CNN parody NCC is calling him a murderer. This is clearly playing off the divide between Fox News and CNN, who both lean to opposite sides politically. But Sage is playing them both and just, working to get everyone on her side. We also learn that Ryan's apparently at Svalbard, and he might be at the Longyearbyen school. At the end of season 4, Mallory told him the truth about his father, which then led to her death. She tried to block him from leaving Billy's room, which led to Ryan pushing her too hard by accident. As of yet though, we don't know where he is for real, and I think that he's going to be integral to either side. Personally, I feel like he's lying low and on the run, and he'll be the key to stopping Homelander in the end. Homelander also plays upon Sage giving herself a lobotomy in order to screw the Deep, and yeah, lots of great little lines. But Sister Sage says they're good, and Homelander mentions how Godolkin dumped her. This is referring to his idiotic decision to go public as opposed to following Sage's plan in season 2, which ultimately led to his death. Homelander has high poll numbers though, but as he says, anyone can lie, and implies the real barometer is in the memes. It's the memes! Stormfront used them to her advantage in season 2, and just like real life, you live or die by them. Like a petulant child, he wants people making these memes arrested, and it's obviously suppression of speech, which we constantly see governments trying to do as they control social media in order to quell critics. Homelander's ego won't let him be questioned though, and instead of trying to be likable or nice, he tries to brute force his way into being liked. He wants people to be devoted to him, and Sage reiterates that no matter how much amount of power he amasses, he will never truly be happy, which I think ultimately will be the downfall of the character. It's only so long before he has a breakdown that they can't cover up, and I can imagine his public fall will come soon. He tells Sage she promised him he'd be like Caesar, and she rightly says that he was killed by those closest to him. I also think that's how the downfall of Homelander will come as well, with characters like the Deep turning against him in the end. Because yeah, with that speech A-Train gives him later, it clearly sits with him. In the meantime, he thinks maybe killing Starlight and Butcher will make him content. Homelander then says he wants it leaked they'll execute Huey in 3 days, and this will draw them into the trap. It's not the best plan, let's be honest. Doesn't really work out. And I also love how he refers to Frenchie as the French one. But yeah, Homelander is surrounded by sycophants and incompetent people, and though Sage may be smart, she still lets him do what he wants, which is ultimately dumb. So I do wonder if she might turn on him too. In the comics, Vought actually existed for quite a while after the whole Butcher and Homelander arc wrapped up, but it was like a tiny sliver of what it used to be. She may realize though that not even she can control him, so he has to be taken out, and it might be the key to perfecting the virus. In the end, Giancarlo Esposito's composite character was the one left standing, so it will be interesting to see where they go, as he wants to control Vought post Homelander. We then cut to one of these camps and hear Hajaya phone by telephone. As if being locked up isn't bad enough, there's advertising throughout the camp. The first one we see is Sage's likeness being used to shield Vortcoin. There's a QR code as well, which when scanned links to a Google search for buy Vortcoin. The camp's inmates are then made to wear American flag bottoms, which is very Rex Kwando. They also have a cape on the back of their sweatshirt as well, showing how they have to become just like the man oppressing them. This is of course modelled after Homelander's cape, but there's no flying out of here just yet, which is some lovely foreshadowing as well. We then see the front of the camp, which has a sign that says "Freedom sets you free." Seems like a very nothingy turn of phrase, but this is actually a reference to Auschwitz. The camp had a sign that says "Arbeit macht frei," which translates to "Work sets you free." Just the design of the gate alone also looks like it's riffing off that. So yeah, the writers are trying to equate this more to a concentration camp as opposed to like the war internment camps that the Japanese Americans used to keep soldiers captive. It's also a very great escape as well, especially as the sleeping quarters look like Stalag Luft 3rd. There is more connections to that movie that we'll point out as we get to them, but this is Camp 47, which could possibly referring to another 47. You know who I mean. The whole camp is overseen by Vernon Connections though, which was the corporation that Tech Knight owned. Tech Knight did a prisoner for profits business, and it's likely that the people here are being used as part of Vaught's workforce. We also have similar trucks to the ones used in Gen V, and the food is served by Burger. Dear me. We then see Cindy, who escaped Sage Grove, and see Love Sausage later. Frenchie seems to be flourishing though, and smuggling in and selling drugs. We see he hides them in a copy of Deeper, which is the story of Deep's life after he was kicked out of the Seven and joined the Church of the Collective. However, the book takes liberties with what actually happened and was adapted into the movie Not Without My Dolphin, which was a parody title referring to the movie Not Without My Daughter. We then see him handed an orange, which is often associated with foreshadowing a death. If you watched our breakdown of The Godfather and that series, you'll know that oranges often appear as a way to show a character's just about to get killed. However, he doesn't die as Huey stops a dude from shanking him, and it's only A-Train who dies in the end. Behind Huey's also a Turbo Rush advert foreshadowing A-Train's arrival, and we see that the former newbie is actually becoming quite capable. Frenchie's also able to smuggle in news about Annie, which is the only thing that's really helping him keep his strength to resist. Problem is that Annie is slowly turning into Butcher 2.0 and is being pragmatic. Part of me wonders if the ending may change majorly for a character, but I'll save that more for the spoiler section later. Mother's Milk isn't taking things too well though, and he's resorted to fighting in prison. I did wonder if this was an homage to his comic book character who became a champion boxer after leaving the military. As the pair fight, we can also see a tall redhead. I did wonder if this is a reference to Big Bobby from the comics, and this is a trans character who is one of Huey's best mates from childhood. They'd often meet up for a drink every time he went back to Scotland, and played quite a large role in the later issues and also in the comic Dear Becky. To be fair to us, like the screener we got sent for this was like 720p, so sometimes stuff is difficult to make out, but that's what I thought while I was watching the scene. Either way, Milk obviously carries a lot of regret, as he was going to escape with his family but was convinced by A-Train to stay. He's at his rock bottom though, is fighting for money and also has to drink toilet water. He's incredibly jaded and just doesn't seem to care at all that Annie showed the public the Flight 37 video. He's seen firsthand what Vought can do to cover up their crimes, and yeah, the guy is at the end of it, and yeah, just basically, he's drinking out the toilet, like literally. How low can you go? He's snapped out of his funk though, as he sees Love Sausage beating an inmate. And Love Sausage is the only guy who's allowed to beat his meat in public. Thank you. Psh. The two have had beef since Sage Grove though, and Love Sausage used his knob like a boa constrictor on Mother's Milk. The appendage of Love Sausage being used against Mother's Milk also does kind of lift from the comics, was sort of as their Mother's Milk boob that was used like a tentacle on Huey. In the comics, Love Sausage was actually an ally of the boys, and we met him when the group went to investigate Nina in Russia. Meanwhile, Billy catches up with his dad in London, and we see as John Noble returns as Sam Butcher. We learn that Billy's mother, Connie's dead, which is a cruel twist of fate, as Sam's got cancer, which we learned in Season 2. Sam's also taken Lenny's trophy down from the loft, almost kind of reminisce on his sons. The sad thing is, though, that he made their lives a misery, and Billy blames his dad for Lenny taking his own life. Now, I didn't know if I was reading into this too much, but I did wonder if Lenny was gay. His dad called him a homophobic slur, and this made him never want to look at the trophy again. That might not be the case, that might be me reading into it, and either way, their dad constantly abused them and constantly put them down. So Butcher's here to kill his father once and for all, and it appears to be a remix of the limited series, The Boys Butcher, Baker, Candlestick Maker. In that, Billy returns to London for his father's funeral and talks about his life growing up. We learn about his time in the Falklands, meeting Becca, and also his relationship with Lenny. During that point in the story, Lenny is actually alive, though he does die later in life, which is down to a bus accident. However, here we just leave Billy with him saying that he's going to torture his dad, and then cut to the Truth Bomb studio. Butcher potentially doing this shows how merciless he's becoming, as he's willing to commit patricide just to get even on his dad. He then hugs him, and I did wonder if he just pops the tentacles there, but yeah, we cut away and don't fully see his fate. In the studio, we then get a scene that feels very, very Peep Show. Homelander can hear the workers' heartbeats and can tell that they're absolutely fucking terrified of him. Even Firecracker is, and she has to psych herself up simply to go and talk to him. We even get a reference to Elon Musk and learn that she was going to interview him. She acts chirpy and gives him lots of compliments, but in the end, she might also be one of the people that betrays him. Homelander is also just really confused as the staff heartbeats show that they're very, very scared, despite him dedicating his life to saving them. I don't know, mate, it's probably something to do with all the staff who were purged last season. He's also disgusted by Firecracker's heartbeat, but the pills used to make her lactate were in fact killing her. As we discovered last time, this is what was making her ill, and thus she's had to come off them or she'll die. But yeah, also that scene where he was disgusted by her coughing last season, that's been memed into oblivion. In the end though, this is what separates him from Huey, as everyone's just a tool for Homelander, and that's it. He's mad that Firecracker wouldn't kill herself to lactate for him, while Huey almost escapes the camp later on, but stops to save a former colleague. The show then starts, and I love the lower third saying that the administration claims that parts of the Constitution are unconstitutional. Homelander then explains that AI was used to try and trick the public, which is artificial intelligence, as he tells them. Just shows how stupid his viewers are and how he has to basically spoon feed them everything. Thomas Godolkin's return is also said to be an AI deepfake, and that controls the narrative from last season. In case you missed it, in Gen V we learned that he was kept on life support since a lab accident, and he survived by taking Compound V and basically wanted to use Marie to heal him. It's a lot more complicated than that. There's a lot more twists and turns, but just in case you missed Gen V, actually go and check it out because it's a good season. But yeah, Godolkin wanted to control Homelander and purge the soup community of the weak. Despite being mentored by Sister Sage, he went against what she planned, just like Homelander, and ended up dead, which might also be happening here. Homelander then pauses the Flight 37 video and shows how his hand has too many fingers, which he feels proves it was AI. This is something that actually happened with earlier AI models, and you could often spot a fake simply by looking at the hands.
Isn't that what they refer to as the uncanny valley?
Yes, it is.
Just that long look of contempt there absolutely kills me, and we then cut to Manila where Kimiko's been deported to. While she was captured by Homelander's goon, she caused so much trouble that they simply just deported her. She serves up some cakes for a kid and says someone special taught her to make them. This is actually a reference to Frenchie, as we saw him teach her to bake. I love the bait and switch though, as she uses sign language to talk to the kid, but as we learn, she can actually talk, and yet she has a lot to say. Actually, kind of freaked me out because I'm not used to seeing her speak, and I did even, like, I know Karen Fukuhara can talk, but I was like, is that dubbing? Is that dubbing? Like, I've played Callisto Protocol many times and obviously seen her on a lot of other stuff, but yeah, just seeing Kimiko talk, what was going on? We then see that she's been keeping tabs on her love, as there's a wall of newspaper clippings all about the camps, complete with a picture of Frenchie. Billy's come to tell her that Frenchie's going to be executed, and in the comics there was a bit where Billy visited his old friends after Homelander had been defeated and basically took them out one by one to rid the world of Compound V, which I did actually think for a second the scene might be kind of picking up on to kind of do a misdirect towards. In the back, we can see she has a poster for South Pacific, and know that she's a fan of musicals as she daydreams singing I Got Rhythm during season 4. Cutting back to the camp, we then learn that it's not just Starlighters in there, but also former members of the Federal Bureau of Superhuman Affairs. Huey mentions how he shouldn't have hope after being strangled by Ezekiel, hunted by Noir, chased by sharks, shot up by Russians, almost blown up at Herogasm, and lasered at Fort on Ice. They also talk about the chocolate cake from Tech Knight's party, which are of course all things from the previous 4 seasons. He gives this woman hope though, and shows just why he's so different to Homelander. Like A-Train said before his death, Homelander is nothing without his powers, and though Huey doesn't have powers, he's everything because of it. Does that make sense? However, hope is something that's in very short supply at this moment, and we see it as the guy tries to scale the fence. He's blown up by Cindy, and Shirley must have known that this would likely happen.
See? He gave up.
Reminds me a lot of The Great Escape, is in that the character Ives is killed when he tries to climb the fence in broad daylight, just like the guy here. He also gave up too, and was tired of being put in solitary confinement. But what it shows is that escape is impossible, and Cindy can blow you up with just a clench of her fist. So instead of going over the fence, they decide to go under it, which also feels like a nod to The Great Escape. We then cut to the Deep's Red Pill podcast that he hosts with Black Noir. There's all sorts of posters that riff on social justice phrases such as men's lives matter and #menfirst. The Deep then says that women like Starlight make men weak. As we know, he's hated her since she got him cancelled in season 1. The poster on the left is also a reference to an old 1970s advert, as well as the He Can Do a poster which is playing on Rosie the Riveter. There's also a pro-choice poster there as well. I love at the table is a sonar too, and it has a periscope above it. Just fits nicely in with the whole fish thing, and the podcast is called Manhandled and is basically taking the piss out of things like the Whatever podcast and the Fresh and Fit one as well. The Deep then calls kissing and romance beta male behavior, which if you're plugged into the manosphere, you've probably heard that like some really weird like normal stuff is beta male behavior, such as like not hitting the thumbs up and stuff. The public also don't know that there's a new Black Noir, which means he can't talk, so he's only allowed to communicate through a soundboard. We then cut to Starlight watching it while hitting the vape pen, and Billy turns up with Kimiko. It's here that we learn that Kimiko can now talk with ease, and she mentions that she had speech therapy, which is something we saw last season. We also learned more of her backstory and why she never spoke, as she was forced to fight in silence, and the first person to scream was killed. She killed lots of girls during this, learned to never use her voice, and was basically traumatized by what happened. I am sure this is a massive relief to Karen Fukuhara though, as much as it was a relief to Nathan Mitchell when he finally got to talk as Black Noir. In case you don't know, Nathan actually played the original version too, and then they killed him off and just brought back the actor. She also says she's watched lots and lots of TikTok, which we can tell by the language, and I did find it funny how she didn't speak to Billy on a 16-hour flight, because he just says, oi, 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 oi. But Billy is there to help get the boys out of the camp, however, Frenchie's the priority. He can make the virus, and though will kill every soup, including Kimiko and Starlight, Homelander has to be taken out. In the comics, Billy actually planned to blow up the soups by tuning a radio detonator to the frequency of V, like if V was in their vein, it picked up on their frequency, and in setting that off, it would blow up all their heads. He used Vogelbaum much like he's using Samir in the show and wanted to set off the virus at the top of the Empire State Building. We then cut back to Huey and see they've made a tunnel under the toilets in a clear Great Escape reference. That was also recently referenced in Stranger Things, and the tunnels were called Tom, Dick and Harry. Milk and Frenchie then tell Huey they're going to be executed and work out. It's a trap! Huey is determined to get out before that though, and we see they've been making Molotovs using bought olive oil bottles, which is very difficult to say. Meanwhile, Starlight and Cole look at aerial photos of the camp. We know that Annie has known where the lads have been this whole time, but feels like they're actually safer inside. Which yeah, she kind of has a point, especially considering what happened to the former occupants of those bunk beds. She's being pragmatic though, as the resources needed to get them out are massive, but luckily Billy knows a dude who's quite literally a worm. Starlight also says she had someone they can call, who is of course A-Train. It also made me laugh how she asked Kimiko if she likes croissants, because yeah, they're French and stuff. But not me! Give me a fucking full English. Eboche! What kind of eboche person are you though? Which one do you like the most? Cutting to the 7th tower, we can then see the construction equipment from the roof has now fully gone. That was there throughout season 4, as they obviously had to rebuild things after the end of season 3. As we learn in the episode, it's been a year since the events of last time, so they've managed to fix things up. We then see Homelander seething, and that he's watching Flight 37 footage with a dead stage manager beside him.
Can you believe the gall cooking up these lies about me?
I don't know if Homelander has convinced himself or if he's just trying to convince the Deep, but he genuinely seems to believe it's all fake. I even wonder if he's repressed these memories, and in the comic he did question his memories due to seeing photos of atrocities that he couldn't remember committing. He makes fun of Starlight's powers as well, but twice now, Noir has failed to capture her. Also cracked up that the Deep looks at Noir only to get ripped into next. Anthony Starr does some of his best work in these 2 episodes, and I found him subtly stroking the back of Deep's neck absolutely horrifying. Like, the guy may be method acting, who knows? He believes in soup supremacy though, but will only tolerate this pair of knuckleheads for so long. This leads to him going back to his dad, who's being kept in his room after finding him at the end of season 4. He needs someone with actual competence, but as we see in the next episode, he even messes up by not warning him about the virus. We then learn that Homelander killed the stage manager because he liked a couple of Starlighters posts in the past, and Deep even offers to hand over his phone to check it. But Homie suspects there's a traitor in the midst, and as we know, the Deep is the reason the footage is out there. Outside, the podcast bros then have some huge beef going on as Noir isn't talking. I even wondered if he'd cut out his tongue in order to play the part because he's going next level with it. This is when the Deep then mentions Stella Adler's acting method. He shot Honey Boy 2 with Shia LaBeouf, which is something that the Deeps mentioned before. We then cut to Ashley doing an interview with Firecracker, and she's gone all in on religion and is now married to O-Father. Played by the excellent Daveed Diggs, the show originally used Ezekiel in this role. However, after his death, they've brought in one of the characters from the comics. Knowing them, Homelander recruited him at the comics version of Capes for Christ. He wanted O-Father to help him take over, and the suit would join him in Homelander's final plan. This is all just a PR marriage though, and O-Father says he dreams of a Christian nation. I love how they complete each other's sentences as well, which is something you do when you're in love. But then she says she's just a mind reader, and I think this might come in very useful against Homelander. Obviously, Ashley will know if he's planning on killing her, and she too might become someone who turns against him. The DEI talking points are then brought up, and Firecracker mentions how those letters are also in Devil. Never heard that before, but yeah, DEI is obviously, something that's a big political talking point in real life, and this is when Sage yells cut. Also found it funny how she doesn't believe in God and acts like a Reddit atheist, as she then receives her orders, and we learn that Homelander wants more Starlighters arrested, but they've arrested everyone, so now thought criminals will all be rounded up. Even Tyler the Creator and Chappelle Roan have been arrested, which has led to the cancellation of Coachella. And I am not grabbing the low-hanging fruit of Roan-hating kids. I will resist. She then says that Ashley could end up president if she stays useful. In this world, though, that means you're basically just a puppet, and she'll have to be complicit in the awful crimes against humanity. Her comic counterpart actually ended up as a patsy for everything that went down, and yeah, I do feel like come the end of the season, she might be the one left holding the bag. Perhaps something darker will happen though, which I will save for the spoiler section. We then cut to Butcher's asset, which turns out to be a screenwriter. We see he's writing an episode of Reacher about how one of Reacher's neighbours pushed him on his motorbike, or something like that. There's also other files on his desktop which include the Rings of X-Rated, which might be a play on Rings of Power, as both this and Reacher are owned by Amazon. All you can write though is that Reacher is massive, which yeah, I like the show, but it is a funny roast of it. It also reminds me of the Rememberer in Gen V Season 2, who we saw writing a script for a Rememberer reboot show. In his room, we can see he's got posters for Crimson Countess Capers, which is the same character that Soldier Boy killed in Season 3. Then there's Pop Claw Slippery Slopes, which is a parody of Ski School 1 and 2. Now Billy, of course, has lots of different assets, and we did see last time how he had the character Webweaver. As Billy comes in, the character stands up, and we see that he's wearing a hoodie for Mesmer's Mystery Mansion. It's Mesmer's second in-universe show, with the first one being The Mesmerizer. But yeah, this guy's work with Michael Bay, as we do see a picture with him, and he is known for his incredible scripts. The worm has fallen on hard times though, and seems to be like a bit of a Dan Schneider, as Billy has creepy texts that he sent him around a Cosgrove. The lad has also been replaced by AI, which yeah, of course reflects real life. We then see him reach for a plant pot to eat some mud, and this plays into his powers. Also, I did wonder if his big thick glasses were due to him having bad eyesight, just like a worm. Is that a reach? You're goddamn right! But Billy is there to get the worm to dig a hole into the camp, and A-Train arrives to meet Annie and Kimiko. This surprises the former silent assassin, and we get some good info on Marie Moreau. Turns out that she's raided somewhere in Pittsburgh, and we do know that she'll return later in the season. A-Train isn't down for helping initially though, as he has a family to protect. He seems scared, which I believe he is, but it's something that he gets over in the end. At the prison, we then see as the inmates continue making Molotovs. We see that Frenchie is sober, and that MM has been fully downing his sorrows. This is on moonshine, which is also something that they cook up in The Great Escape. Huey then mentions MM's family, and that he's pretty much lost hope of seeing them again. It's a very bad situation though, and things go from bad to worse when Huey goes up to get more resin. Turns out that Homelander's known about their plans the whole time, and has let them have a sliver of hope because he's a complete sadist. He reads his diary, which is full of hope as well, and has mercilessly murdered all the others in the dorm. So maybe Big Bobby won't be in the season. Another detail I love as well is how we see a pillow behind Homelander that literally has a version of his face on it. So even when people go to sleep and wake up, that's the first thing they see. We then get a throwback to the fun Homelander, and he calls internment camp Huey Zesty. He also recalls their meeting at Capes for Christ during Ezekiel's private baptism ceremony. Huey then tells him to just kill him, but he wants to keep him alive. Homelander is just so confused as to why Huey's so adored, as we mentioned earlier. I did even wonder if he stares at people's hearts so much, because he says he knows that in their hearts, they all love Starlight. We then cut to Brittany, which is where A-Train stashed his family. He's been on the run since leaving the 7 in Season 4, and A-Train's brother's also still in a wheelchair. That came in the aftermath of his attack by Blue Hawk in Season 3, but since then, A-Train's been trying to make amends, and his brother clearly appreciates it. He's clearly taken the words that his brother said to heart, and he's finally saved people and been a hero for real. However, they are still on the run, and I like how the shutter behind them also looks like a 7. Unfortunately, the moment is broken up by birds acting strange, and we then see as the Deep arrives on a hammerhead shark, which are having a revival. Hammerhead sharks that were so cool in the 90s, and people were like, I'm sick of hammerhead sharks, but they're coming back, I'm telling you. Keep your eye on those guys, they're on the rise. Back with Butcher and the gang, we then see how nihilistic Annie's gotten. She says that Maeve was right, and this did make me wonder if Maeve will return in the show. She's the one who can prove the footage was real, because yeah, she was there when it happened. It's something that she carried with her though, and this guilt ate away at her throughout the series. So having her be the one to come forth and destroy Homelander's public image would bring things full circle from that fateful first season. It would also be the best way for her to take accountability and at least show those people didn't die in vain. A-Train and the Deep then have at each other, and we get this great line.
Right now it's you coming after me, then it'll be Noir coming after you. New Noir, because Homelander killed the first one, remember?
We can see that the Deep is terribly insecure, as A-Train thought he was a joke, which does kind of play into him being an Aquaman parody.
I'm the Lord of the Seven Seas, baby.
In the comics, Aquaman's the king of Atlantis, and he rules over the Seven Seas. When the first look at Jason Momoa's version dropped as well, they even had the tagline Unite the Seven, which people thought was either the members of the Justice League or, the Seven Seas. The pair don't fight though, but what A-Train says probably does more to the Deep than having a battle with Fistwood. Deep then says that he'll eventually get his family, and I think he knows that he's too fast to catch him. We then cut to the Worm moaning about writing a series finale. It gets very meta as we are in the final series of The Boys, and as he says, TV finales always seem to piss people off, like The Sopranos, Game of Thrones, Stranger Things, so on and so forth. He says that you spend too long trying to please everyone and that you simply can't do it.
Finales are the worst.
And hey, good luck to you guys. Have to say, first 2 episodes are great, so you're on your way. Billy then theorizes that Annie can't look Huey in the eyes after doing a year's worth of dark shit, and the Worm starts to dig a hole. As always, Billy gets the best lines after saying he thought worms got their rocks off getting cut in half. My guy also looks like a Ken doll, and I have to admit that's where my eyes first went. It's funny as well, as this is a reverse of The Great Escape, as this lot dig into the camps instead of out. We then watch as they crawl through a tunnel which feels a lot like the Shawshank Redemption. That is of course another story about prison, and again that's about breaking out, whereas here they're breaking in. The Worm then says not to contact him again, but I do feel like Homelander might find out he got them in and then do his usual laser to the head, because you can't really laser his dick. Getting inside, they find Homelander waiting for them, and Homelander's completely delighted that Marvin's nicknames Mother's Milk. The Soup licking his lips is absolutely hilarious, and again, the Star is just too good in this role. He also knows about the Godolphin virus, and Kimiko tells him to suck her fat dick. Frenchie's response is priceless as well, and she then gets lasered in half. Homelander is then shocked by the viper's nest in Billy's chest, and he thinks it's beautiful and that he's become a Soup simply because that's the level he's gonna have to go to take down Homelander. To him, it's the ultimate devotion, and in his sick mind, it's a compliment that Billy's transformed himself just to try and kill him. He's made himself a monster and lost his humanity to beat him once and for all. He then says that Billy's truly the only one who's ever challenged him. Billy's power comes from pure hatred, and the people around Homelander are too scared of him to step up. Billy has done this though, and embraced his cancer to destroy the cancer of the world, which is a reach.
There's a part of me that will be sad to see you go.
Starlight then arrives and flashbangs him along with the rest of the bad guys. The shit then hits the fan and the guards start shooting. then goes to get revenge on Love Sausage, and Frenchie gets to reunite with Kimiko, and they basically French kiss for the rest of the episode. Billy then manages to take out Cindy after Huey runs up to save his friend. It's also quite ironic that both Cindy and Love Sausage being guards is the fault of the boys. The pair were prisoners at Sage Grove, but now we see that they're the ones running the prison. Cindy survives though and is saved by Homelander, and there's a little pillow with the Deep on it as well. It's absolute chaos in this scene, and then Starlight flies off without Huey as Frenchie's the priority. Meanwhile, takes out Love Sausage, who's choked by his own appendage, which gives a new meaning to choking the chicken. Homelander then kills Huey's mate and holds Huey hostage to draw out Billy. Luckily, A-Train arrives and we get a nod to Quicksilver. A-Train even puts on his glasses, just like Quicksilver did with the goggles. We then see as he moves people around in super speed and messes with the guards. I love how he pulls the pins out of some grenades, and we later see these explode when things go back to normal. I love how he runs past the Turbo Rush poster as well. That was his brand, of course, but it's now been replaced by Homelander as the mascot, and he's now standing up to Homelander, who's also the face of Vought. He's doing this all to save Huey's life, and just great bit of symbolism. He redeems himself from killing Robin in the first episode and even trips out the way of a young woman who's dressed just like her. This ultimately leads to his death, but he does the right thing even though it costs him everything. Had he just run through, he might still be alive, which shows his growth and him actually being a real hero. Who's the real heroes? A-Train is. The chase is great though, and kind of what you'd get if you had Superman trying to kill the Flash. Ultimately, the face-off against each other's a standstill, and A-Train laughs in Homelander's face.
Take away these powers. And what are you, huh?
Which feels like a nod to this.
Take that off. What are you?
Genius, billionaire, playboy, philanthropist.
I know guys with none of that worth 10 of you.
There, Tony had a witty reply, but Homelander just cries and has absolutely nothing to say.
Weak.
Homelander's intimidation comes from his powers, however he's confused and surprised that someone on the brink of death just calls him a loser and laughs at him. The words he uses against other people that he deems weak are now used on him, and he simply can't handle it. And yeah, I was shocked seeing A-Train die, and it lets you know this season won't be pulling any punches. Episode 2 picks up with A-Train's funeral, which is a nice mirror of the opening of Episode 1. There was of course a political rally, whereas this feels like a religious one. It's the same place as Translucent Swan was from the start of Season 2, and it's all an act to cover up what really happened to A-Train. Even the fact he was like completely estranged from them, yeah, that's all getting brushed under the rug. They even released a video the other day with a cover story that he'd gone on a top secret mission.
His location is classified and known by just one man, his team captain and best friend, who he sent a beautiful photo to just this morning.
This is something they used to do in the comics after Brand Nubia died and then came back to life because of V supercharging her system and making her basically a zombie. So they basically said she was going on a secret mission in space and put her out to pasture. You then see a gospel choir singing about being faster than the speed of light. I guess there's no Starlight to sing there this time. Also love how the Deep's fully into it and Firecracker smiles while Homelander and Sister Sage look bored. Everyone's there, including President Calhoun and Ashley. She seems genuinely upset, and you might remember that she begged A-Train to run away with her. Instead of Homelander, O-Father's also leading the proceedings, and the cover story is that A-Train's been martyred and killed by Starlight. Daveed Diggs is absolutely fantastic again though, and he plays O-Father as an over-the-top preacher. He hits all the talking points and preaches that Starlight's satanic and that her followers eat babies or something, playing into lots of conspiracy theories that I'm sure you've heard on the internet. We then get a glimpse of his power, which is a little different from the comics. There he had the usual super strength in flight, but here he seems to be able to blast people with the Holy Spirit. I'm guessing that this is on a psychic level through using his voice. He seems to bring comfort to Homelander, and it looks a lot like Black Bolt's powers, but a bit more pleasant. A bright light flashes in Homelander's face, and it seems almost holy. It illuminates him and plays in those religious parallels and just further paints him as being a godlike figure. I also don't think it's a coincidence that Starlight's powers bring light in the same way. Ashley then grabs her wig lest it come flying off, and Homelander hears someone saying, "My sweet boy." As we know, he has got very, very severe mummy issues, and this pushes him to go and wake up his dad. We then go to the boys arriving at Billy's lab in Pennsylvania. On the window, there's loads of newspapers which show Homelander and President Calhoun, as well as the Girls Get It Done shot from the Dawn of the Seven. The radio's also playing Tub Thumping by Chumbawamba, which is a song all about the working class and getting back up again. Now, but it's all about resilience and standing up to the system, which of course fits the boys really well. It's also a song that's played over the credits and nicely comes from Soulja Boy getting knocked down and get back up again. You're never gonna keep me down. We then see Samir again and learn Billy has lied and said that Homelander killed both Victoria and Zoe. It nicely mirrors how Homelander's lying about A-Train, and both were responsible for the deaths of those they're pretending to care about. Homelander also later admits telling Soulja Boy about the virus as well, and I do wonder if Butch is hiding some things about his new abilities. Like, where is Jeffrey Dean Morgan at, mate? Where is he? Huey also talks about losing Vic as well, and Jack Quaid is dating Claudia Dumit in real life, which was a nice little meta joke. Beyond that, Zoe is likely going to be in the season 2, and we know that she's currently living with Stan Edgar. Samir and Kimiko also have beef as he injected her with the virus. This had made Frenchie cut her leg off, and Billy's unsure if the virus will kill Homelander, and Frenchie correctly guesses that they need to test it on Rockhard first. He's a member of the Teenage Kicks and called Rockhard because it's like a dick joke, mate. He's of course a take on Marvel's The Thing, who can't keep his own thing away from monuments. We learn that he loves volcanic eruptions, and hey, I'm not judging here, mate. Whatever you get your rocks off to, hey, get your rocks off to, I said. But yeah, he's pretty much indestructible and the perfect lab rat. There's also a Go Vegan poster with the deep on it, and the lad of course has lots of fishy friends that he's had difficulty eating. They then head out while Firecracker's spreading more propaganda, and she's basically become the new Cameron Coleman. We also see local superheroes have been deputized and are allowed to round up whoever they deem as Starlighter. We see these raids in action, and it's obviously playing off ice, and also how during the Second World War, people were encouraged to snitch on their Jewish neighbours. It's the freedom to be free act, but it just leads to imprisonment if you show dissent. But for now, the lads need new clothes. Poor Mother's Milk's only got Britney Spears stuff, which plays off to how he's been known to wear hip-hop shirts in the past, which did become a bit of a meme. Guy wears one with her face on later, and I do wonder if they're going to have him wearing pop groups as a joke before he goes bye bye bye. We then hear as Huey and Kimiko want to go against Billy and stop the virus. However, Starlight's willing to pay the price with her life. Even Frenchie is down with it too, and I think that, as you mentioned, the ending to the show may be different to the comics. Huey then says how he gets that she had to make tough decisions and do awful things in the name of her resistance. She shuts him down though by getting down and dirty with Huey. Kimiko is furious as well and says how despite being her limbs cut off, lasered and being shot, the virus was the only time she actually wanted to die. It was just pure agony. She gets so angry that she goes back to sign language. However, Frenchie reasons with her and explains that he wants to learn everything about the virus so they can try and make sure she doesn't die. Frenchie then questions if they can get it on, but Kimiko says the pussy's back like Ryan Airy when he comes back off sick leave. After a steamy scene to never tear us apart by In Excess, we cut to Homelander alone in church. He tries to rationalize why he did what he did and says that he was like the big brother that A-Train never had. But he did have a big brother. It shows though how much he just doesn't know or care about other people compared to Huey. Homelander can't even name his ex Popclaw, and he acts like he's a benevolent friend, but all he's done is bully him over the ears. It's very much like the Skinner quote in The Simpsons, and he will never change. We then get the strings again as he finally unfreezes his dad, and thank the Lord, Ackles as Soldier Boy is back, but real this time, not just in a dream sequence. It's very Winter Soldier though, and we'll talk about some of the other similarities in the attack later. Cutting to TikTok, we then see She-Line advertising diet water. Wow, water with 0 calories. Jetstreak is also promoting Firecrackers Cheeto knockoff that we saw in Gen V. It's like one of those endless TikTok shop adverts you get, and we meet another member of Teenage Kicks and Countess Crow. People don't seem to like her as much though, as the comments make fun of She-Line eating her crows and Goth being out of date. It shows how Vought will monetize any style or niche though, and she's doing a makeup tutorial using Vought products. And I also hate when content creators just fill stuff with adverts, but buy our t-shirts and buy whatever advert we put on this video. Now in the comics, Popclaw was a goth and a part of Teenage Kicks, so Countess Crow is filling that role here. She's also a lot like Raven from DC, and I do feel like she might come back later in the series. Also love how Butch is shocked at them getting 50k per post, but when you will advertise absolutely anything, that's gonna happen, and I will do anything, send me your products. We even see Rockhard advertise his hygiene products, but he's pretty much a basement-dwelling slob that's just like Pearl from Blade. This builds off what we saw in Gen V during the lessons and how they're taught to market themselves and get more followers. Lamplighter's also outside the truck, and even in death, they're still making money off his image. We also see how Annie's morphing more into Billy. She says how the Real Housewives of See You Next Tuesday will hear them as they make their prison for Rock Hard. It's not posted in a year though, but Frenchie spotted Countess taking a protein shake to the basement. Also love how the group even have their own car with their faces on it, just like Jojo Siwa. Upon reaching the basement, they then see things aren't as straightforward as they thought, and Rock Hard is absolutely rock hard. Also love how he has pass me my protein shake and clean my shit up as quick messages. There's also no cap, turn the volume down, good game, I rate that. Big dick energy, get the fuck out of here, and I'm rock hard bitch, like the Juggernaut bitch. Upon typing SP, it also auto-predicts Spunk, which foreshadows that great reveal later on. We then get Soldier Boy who wakes up on Homelander's bed. Soldier Boy's also wearing a sorry snowflake sweater and he's angry at Homelander. He even suspects Homelander of having like a weird incest kink. This is possibly referencing the comic where Homelander would sleep with Soldier Boy under the pretense he'd be allowed into the Seven. He wasn't his dad in the source material, I have to say that, but for ages there has been the theory that the pair might hook up. As he learns, he's been out for 2 years, so yeah. Since season 3, Homelander also says that he was found at a CIA black site and then offers a PR washing of his reputation. After their showdown in the 7th Tower in season 3, Russia was blamed for the attack, and I'm guessing that they'll go with like the Winter Soldier brainwashing sleeper cell excuse that worked for Bucky. But yeah, his movies have been taken off 4+, but then re-added with a content warning. Homelander offers to make him number 2 on the 7, but Soulja Boy just wants to finish the job on his son. However, Homelander bets that Soulja Boy hates Billy more after he betrayed him by trying to save Homelander's son. Okay then, I think Homelander just wants someone who will love him though, and thinks his dad might be the one to do it. Homelander even gives his dad his shield back, which looks worse for wear and even breaks later on. Kind of like how Tony gave Cap his shield back in Endgame. We then get more adverts as the Deep advertises his Sigma Solarium. Sigma is often used in the manosphere to describe what men should be. He's advertising a red light thing for your arse, which is parodying people sunning their balls. My wife uses one of these, not on her balls, mate. She ain't got balls, she uses it on her face. But you see these bloody adverts all the time because you bought it off like Amazon, and I own the account and I'm just getting it non-stop. Back with Rockhard, they then decide to test the virus in the basement, but Rockhard stops breathing. Feel like he's kind of like a Viltrumite and can hold his breath for ages. They then split up into teams to go and bring the virus to the house. Meanwhile, Sister Sage has identified 10,000 Starlighters to be rounded up. Looks like her relationship with Peter Thiel has borne fruit, as she has a Palantir-style dashboard. If you look at the map as well, you can also see that the most concentrated areas are California, Washington State, Oregon and New York. It lines up with the 2024 electoral vote, and as Sister Sage says, these areas are where the most nut milk's consumed. Hey, and I drink nut milk, mate. What are you trying to say? Black Noir is also missing from the meeting, and he's been doing so every afternoon. His and Deep's friendship's on the rocks, and it might be because they're both banging Sister Sage. But I also wonder if he's on like an elaborate mission or basically working with the boys. Like, another thing is that we don't even know who's under the mask, and he's like the perfect character for someone from the boys to disguise himself as and sneak into the 7th Tower. Deep scoffs at him, saying he's gone method before, and then mentions the Meisner technique. This is something that Firecracker says is some Jewish thing, which yeah, it is, as Sanford Meisner was in fact Jewish, but it just plays into the whole conspiracy theories that Firecracker would have. As we see, local soups like Sheelan and Jetstreak are involved, and Sage even recommends using the Insurrection Act if they need to. Due to Vought being such a monopoly, they have 50,000 data points that they can track using the Vought algorithm, which is playing off Facebook as well. The president seems to back this, but then Ashley reads his mind and can see how insane it is and that the treasury's running dry. Her weird tumour speaks to her, and Ashley mentions how arresting Vought customers will eat into their bottom line. Sage doesn't think this is a problem though, and just says they'll sell ads on Vought Plus. This is something that mirrors real life as well, with ads on Prime Video and every other streaming service now. The tumour then calls her a regular Che Guevara, which calls back to her youth where she wore the historical figure on a t-shirt. Calhoun then asks the most important question: does he have immunity? They're then interrupted by Homelander, who presents the return of Soulja Boy. Again, like Godolkin, he's ignored Sage and has done his own thing. Soulja Boy will become number 2, and this does upset the Deep. He's also flexing in front of his dad after Soulja Boy called him a disappointment. He has Vought and the president as his personal lapdog, and even gets the president to act as his own personal barman.
Can I get you a glass of milk, sir?
You might also notice that Homelander has redecorated the meeting room. Gone is the monument of the 7 behind the door, and instead, there's simply only Homelander. The ceiling has been changed as well, and the mural now just has him in it. So yeah, hasn't really been keeping his ego in check, and Soulja Boy also gives the eyes to Firecracker. And I do wonder if that's going to come back around. Soulja Boy then gets given a pardon despite being found guilty of treason, and he asks for a Manhattan. It's as American as apple pie, and Homelander says he'll have one as well. Soulja Boy's amazed that he has the president as his bitch, and it's here that we cut to Planet Vought. The team then fix things up to secure the room and also film the incident. We then see how Rockhard got so rock hard, and his lava fountain spouts volcanic juice all over himself, which then hardens to rock. Meanwhile, we see Mother's milk hitting the bottle again. It's here that he comes across She-Line's kitty litter box and then goes up to the Wall of Fame. This looks a lot like the character roster from the comics, and we see several of the big faces from over the years. This includes Translucent, whose collar we can see in the bottom left. There's also a young Mesmerizer above him with a bow tie, and next to Translucent's Popclaw, and we have a young A-Train there as well. That's who gets the focus put on them, and MM pours out a little liquor to toast him. It's here that he then comes across Countess Crow, who's in the middle of an advert. The Crow tells her to stop doing this, but but she says she doesn't have a choice. We then see she gets a bit of a redemption arc and breaks free from this life of exploitation. This is quite ironic as well, as she mentions the product helps after a long day of locking up Starlighters. We also learn her birds are called Russell and Cameron, who are of course named after famous people with Crow as their surname. We then see that Starlight's dealing with the guilt of the lives of those that have died fighting the cause. She is bulletproof and took it for granted that people aren't as strong as she is. She says that dying by the virus is the only fate that lies ahead of her, and that she can't imagine a world where she deserves a happy ending. She talks about a white picket fence, and though not exactly like the comics, Starlight did go to Scotland with Huey and find peace for a while there. However, the pair were pulled back into the fray. However, they did go back there eventually when things died down.
You get up every day and you keep going. Anything else is an insult to the dead.
It's a powerful moment that's then broken up by bringing Countess Crow. We see the indoctrination in full effect across the country, with kids burning books like a Nazi rally in World War II. A pile of burnt books was found during Gen V, and we see as someone's put in a van for having an LGBT flag outside their house. Though she's breaking down, the Supes are more bothered about their ad and don't even care that they're breaking up a kid from his mother. None of the boys could help. Billy makes him keep going, even threatening to use his powers to keep Kimiko in the car. It really speaks to how Homelander and Billy are not so different now, and both are using fear to control those around them. We then see Homelander climbing inside his dad's chamber, clearly trying to get closer to him. And why are you sniffing that? However, I did wonder if this is also foreshadowing for a way that they could beat him. This chamber can obviously keep Soup sedated, and they may even put the villain on ice. The opening of the episode even has A-Train in a blue coffin, and this might be the character's final resting place. I did find it funny how they had that blue coffin and then also had Soldier Boy, and it just seemed to me they were screaming out that this is a very important thing. Sage then arrives, and we see Homelander is a bit of an idiot mate and constantly just keeps throwing curveballs, which makes it a nightmare for Sage's plans. He hasn't told Soldier Boy about the virus, and this is probably going to cause further issues. And yet if he dies, then Homelander is also going to fall to pieces. Meanwhile, Samir prepares the virus, and right now the team's unsure whether it'll kill more than just the Supes. There is the potential it could wipe out all the humans on Earth, and I have a theory that the Supes might even engineer it to do exactly that. Right now, it's just extremely dangerous though, and who knows how far they're going to alter it. Also, who knows if it's even going to work on Homelander, as it clearly doesn't fully kill Soldier Boy. I do wonder as well if they're going to explore Soldier Boy's immunity in Vault Rising, as the character is immortal, and that just seems like the perfect groundwork to kind of explore that more. Homelander is of course constantly aging, finding grey pubes and stuff, and Soldier Boy's immortality could be something he really wants. We then get a heart-to-heart with Crow, and mate, I have to tell you, I spent a good 15 minutes trying to scan the QR code on her shoulder, but I just couldn't seem to get it. We see the other member of Kicks have them as well, and a good hour of my life was spent trying to get the right angle on those codes. I finally got them though, so give myself a pat on the back, and they take you to teenagekicks.com. It's clear though that sees a lot of similarities between Crow and his daughter, and thus he likely decides at this point to free her. He doesn't do it quite yet, but I think this is when he thinks, yeah, she's not too bad. We then get a Soldier Boy attacking the virus team in a moment that feels like it's ripped right out the Winter Soldier, namely the scene where Nick Fury's car's attacked. He throws his shield and then resorts to firing his pistol, and it's just like Bucky. So yeah, that Butcher also admits that he's known Soldier Boy's been alive for a while, and that Mallory only put him on ice. Really makes you wonder if he's factoring him into his endgame, but he sees Soldier Boy as being the perfect guinea pig. The banter between the two is great though, and I love how Butcher is running under the ID Don T, BR, see you next Tuesday. The pair then duke it out, with Butcher throwing the car while Huey and Kimiko head to the house. Leads to a massive battle, with Soldier Boy's shield breaking and Sheila and Jetstreak getting involved too. The latter tries to kill Huey by taking him to the sky, and we get a clear reference to Superman.
I got you.
Easy, miss. I've got you.
You've got me! Who's got you?
Kimiko also heals up like Wolverine and gets a furball spat in her face, but she takes down Sheila. In the basement, Soldier Boy also catches up with Huey, who points out that the lad does a hell of a lot of dick jokes. Freud would have a field day with that one. Though Soldier Boy thinks he's saved the day though, Rockhard breathes out and we see that Frenchie has now unleashed the virus. And it goes exactly how you'd expect. Everyone's skin boils over and Rockhard's head falls apart. Jetstreak just lies on the ground dying and Soldier Boy seems to die as well. And hey, the soup virus works, yay! Back with Sage, we then see she's about to go down on some Taco Bell. So that was bad phrasing, but as we know, she lobotomizes herself and eats junk food as a way to unwind. Ashley is here to ask what the shit they're doing though, and it absolutely killed me how she was like, playing along nice, and then Sage was like, don't worry, he's not in the building. She was like, what the fuck's going on? But yeah, turns out Sage actually likes the attention, and this is when Ashley gives her a reality check and says, look, this hot seat is simply just a chopping block. Homelander will turn on her too, and they have to beat the bad guy before it's too late. We also see that Sage is a blind spot for Ashley and that she can't read her mind. Now, I did wonder if this was because of the lobotomies, or maybe Sage is just simply too smart for her. In the garage, we then get the reveal on the back of her head, which is pretty much her guilty conscience. She mentions Danny Trachtenberg fingering her as well, and I did wonder if this was a nod to the guy who's currently running Predator. They discussed that poem about not doing the right thing at the time because you weren't a communist, and the meaning behind that is how basically, yeah, eventually they will come for you, so you're better off standing up early. She also discusses how Ashley wanted to do good once before, but she's been eroded by fear in the system. And I also love this line.
I'm not a leader, I'm vice president.
Back with the boys, we then see them breathe a sigh of relief as we get it confirmed humanity is safe from the virus. Frenchie knows that Kimiko's terrified though, and he suggests the pair run away. There's no containing it though, so to him the only thing they can do is flee as far as they can. It is all just a fantasy though, and I think Kimiko's living more in reality, and she says she can't because people are dying and it's her duty to stay. Ultimately, I think this will seal up Hare's fate though, and that they'll probably die come the end of the season. This scene is mirrored in Starlight and Huey as well, with the latter making her promise that she doesn't turn into Butcher. Because of this, I do actually wonder if we'll see a flip on the roles in the comics, and she'll become what Butcher is in the source material. But yeah, more in the spoiler section, and for now it's a peaceful moment, and we see Lenny's trophy at Butcher's room along with his dog Terra. Terra was a much larger part of the comics, but it's nice seeing the guy back for the final season. Little dog is getting old too by the looks of it and taking meds, and hey, it's nice to see these two still really care for each other. Because yeah, the virus will likely wipe out Butcher. But there may be some hope, as our final scene has Soldier Boy awakening. The Deep also is clearly terrified as well, as he keeps mocking Homelander's dad. And Homelander just says this.
This should have been you.
I love how at first Deep's like, you're always playing 4D chess, which reminded me of people saying, masterful gambit, sir, every time a world leader or someone who's classed as a genius does something very stupid. The Deep even pees himself out of fear though, and Homelander basically says that the Deep was too incompetent to send. But we do see his dear old dad wake up like the Undertaker after Homelander breaks down about everybody leaving. Now I do want to talk about how Soldier Boy survived, which is hinted at in the trailer. This might spoil stuff for you, so turn off now if you don't want any of those trailer spoilers. If you've seen the trailer though as well, it does give us a fair idea about how Soldier Boy survived. However, this is just a theory time. But we do know that the thrust of the show will be about Homelander trying to attain the immortality his father has. Soldier Boy doesn't age because he was injected with the same thing that Stormfront was. That is V1, which was the first iteration of V. I do think that is likely why the virus didn't work, and that it can only attack those later iterations. Stuff like Vought Blue and V24. The V1 likely stops the virus, and in the trailers this is likely why Homelander is fixated on it. Beyond like the immortality, I do wonder if he'll get it as well, as we have seen shots where he shoots his eyes in the skies almost like he's overpowered. There's a vial next to him on the floor, and potentially he's taken the V1 and has found a way to shield himself from the virus. Now that takes us to the spoiler section, and yeah, we will be talking some of the stuff from the comics that could potentially ruin the show, so if you don't want to know, go. But yeah, we have mentioned that the show might be changing the ending somewhat. In the comics, Homelander started his coup and ended up killing the current president, Victor Veep. That was obviously the counterpart Victoria Newman, who died last season, and he was then killed by Black Noir, who was a clone of the character. Obviously, that isn't happening in the show, but it did go down in the Oval Office, and we have seen him sitting at the president's desk in the Season 5 trailer. As we've seen in these episodes, the president is his lapdog, but we did see that Ashley also had eyes on the White House. So I do wonder if she may somehow become president by the final episode, which ends with Homelander killing her like Victor Veep. There is, however, a non-zero chance that she becomes the fall guy for Vort's crimes in a post-Homelander world, much like her comic counterpart. I could see her becoming president after Calhoun's death, only for her to then be put on trial. Now, the comic did not end with Homelander's death, and we got an extra arc with Billy where he wanted to blow up every soup using and exploiting Compound V. Before this, he killed all of his former allies such as Mother's Milk, Kimiko, Frenchie, Love Sausage, The Legend, and Vogelbaum. Huey worked out what was happening and then went on to confront him, and the pair fought, leading to Billy's death and the soup's survival. This included Starlight as well, and Huey basically went off and had a happy ending in Scotland. They then did the comic Dear Becca years and years later, which was kind of Huey finding Billy's diary and reading about some extra adventures, but it didn't really add much and it's not essential reading. We have talked throughout this video though how Annie is morphing into Billy, which does make me wonder if we're going to see him have to kill her to stop the genocide. However, the crew of course know and are going through with his plan, so I am interested to see where it goes either way. Anyway, that wraps up the episodes, and I've had an absolute blast going through them. These were some of the strongest episodes I think there's been in the series so far, and I can't wait to see where the story goes next. If you've enjoyed it, please hit the thumbs up, and make sure you also drop a comment below letting us know what you thought on the entries. If you want to follow us on Instagram as well and keep up to date with what we're doing, then make sure that you check us out at Heavy Spoilers. Did you know as well that members of the channel also get early access to videos like this every single week, and if you click the join button you get at least one breakdown a week before anyone else. Costs just 99 cents a month, and hopefully that's not a lot to you, but if a lot of you do it, it will mean a lot to us. Now if you want something else to watch, guess what? We've got a big breakdown on screen right now. There we're going over what's just happened in Invincible, and hopefully I see you over there right after this. If not though, thank you for sticking through this video. I've been your host Paul, you've been the best, and I'll see you next time. Take care, peace.